Hello friends, welcome. I'm glad you're here with me today. So today's card project at first glance is a pretty simple one, but it contains some kind of design techniques to really help create a balanced card. So if you're a beginner or like me, been crafting a long time, we're going to kind of jump back to some of the basics to help people get started and to think through of creating a balanced card. So let's go ahead and switch our camera and we'll get started. All right, so here's our card, and as you can see, nothing is super difficult, but some of the things I've done here are going to be some of the basics to help create a well-balanced card. So let's take a look at the products. To create a nice pretty card, you really only need a few things. So we're going to start with some patterned paper, and I'm using the tartan, which is a lot of plaid designs kind of in Christmassy type colors. But really this is a great paper set because it's not just Christmas. You've got your blacks and reds and your creams and greens and black, just a lot of different ones that aren't just Christmas. Then a nice word die is always great to have in your stash. So of course I'm using the word sweet, but any word die that went with the sentiment that you wanted to use. And then a stamp set. And today I'm using this set called Comfort and Joy, which has kind of leans Christmas, but it certainly has images in there that could be good for all kinds of situations. All right, so like I said, the main thing you need is some patterned paper. I'm just going to set these aside right over here where we can still see them and talk about them. And cut your patterned paper down to an A2 card size. Good morning, Plays Well with Paper. How are you today? So yes, thank you. I'm glad that you like them. So you want to take your patterned paper and go ahead and cut it to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Good morning, Shauna. How are you? Yes, I love the tartan pad as well. Then the next thing you're going to want to do is to die cut your word die. Oops. And I've gone ahead and done that, and go ahead and layer it up. So word dies, I like them best when they come with an outline. Now this sweet word I especially like because it comes with 2 outlines. You've got one outline that gives you the dotted stitching around the outer edge, and it's a little bit bigger. And then you have another outline that will create a smaller. So if you wanted to, you could make this in 3 colors. I chose just 2, so I used the inner white and then the stitched. And I just love a word die that comes with like this. And then go ahead and whatever images you're using, you can just stamp those out and color them and get them ready. There we go. So I've gone ahead and colored up my images with some Copic markers. So I'm going to start with some white card bases as well. And to do this, I'm going to take my patterned paper. I'm going to lay it in my paper cutter, cutting it diagonally from point to point, just like that, so that I have 2 triangular pieces. Okay? And now on my card bases, I can layer them just like this. And this is a design technique that gives you plenty of white space. So just very simple, just like this. And you can see by adding a secondary sentiment right here, you could leave it just like this and have a pretty well-balanced card by putting your sentiment over here in the white, letting your image kind of marry between the 2 halves here to draw them together. It brings your eyes all in, and that's a pretty well-balanced card. But as you can see, I've done a few things on this one to kind of take it to the next level. So one thing I like to do is to add a thin strip of color right here. So on these you can see I did just a thin strip of gold. You know, if depending on your design, you might choose black or really any color that you want, but I'm going to do gold. And I just grab a piece of scrap paper and cut myself a strip. Okay, I always make it wider than what I need. I'll show you why. I'm trying to watch the... I'm just keeping an eye there on our chat. Having trouble with my words today. So once we get finished with this card, I'm going to tell you a little story about my crafty week. So the way I like to do this is I just cut a strip of paper that is long enough. Whoops, did I not cut it long enough? I didn't. Okay, well, good thing I checked. All right, here, this one will be long enough. There we go. And I'm going to do that a second time for my second card. Okay, that one's going to be much wider, but that won't matter. I'll show you. So, okay, you just want to cut whatever your strip is that it goes from corner to corner and has some hanging off the ends. Like you want that to be plenty long enough. Now I'm going to turn my piece over, and I'm going to take some double-sided adhesive, or you can just use glue, whatever you prefer. And right along the edge here, I'm going to run my double-sided adhesive. Same with this one. We're going to go ahead and create two at once. All right, so now that I have it like this, I'm just going to take my piece that I've cut. Oops. Remove my double-sided adhesive, and now I can decide. I can make it real thick if I want my line to be thick, or I can bring it up and make it just a thin line, and that's kind of what I'm looking for today. And I can straighten that up just like that. Now I'm going to go ahead and take my glue. And I'm going to glue this down so that this corner is right in the corner. All right, just like that. Now I'll turn it upside down and use my scissors to cut off those extra ends. So I find this way easier to get your thing perfectly measured and the width that you would like, to give you some flexibility on the width by doing it this way rather than cutting your piece the exact size and width and then trying to line it up. Because you have that overhang and cutting it down, this is a faster and easier way to just quickly get this done without a lot of excess measuring and having the chance of getting it wrong. It's a great way to just use up some of your scrap paper. So that's the way I like to do it. Okay, now this one, my paper is a little thinner, but that won't matter. This strip is thinner, but that won't matter at all. You just kind of lay it there. There we go. And I just like to eyeball it. You know, I'm not one for doing a lot of excess. Working with a ruler kind of stresses me out, so I just avoid that. I'm a creative person, not a mathematical person, so I don't use a ruler unless I have to. Okay, now same thing, just gonna find that corner. And press it down, and very quickly and easily we have our patterned paper attached. So again, I know that these are kind of simple little basics that a lot of us have been doing for a long time, but you know, there's always new people that are joining in this hobby, and it's easy to forget that we came into this not necessarily knowing some of these little tips and tricks that make card making easier. So that's why every now and then I do like to hop back and go back and look at some of these ideas that help us. Okay, so now that we have our cards like this, and like I said, we have our sentiment that we're going to put right here. We have our images. Now see how much that, just by adding that line, how much it takes our card design up to the next level. So now I'm going to add my secondary. You don't like rulers either. Yeah, me too. Let's avoid those. Like anybody that's watched me for a long time knows that I have trouble with 1/8 of an inch. Like I say 1/18 of an inch because in my head I see the 1 and the 8. So yeah, I avoid rulers. Just saying. So I do like to use a stamping platform to do this. And I'll go ahead and put my card right in there. I like to set my image here so I kind of have an idea of where everything's going to be. And I've already got my sentiment. I'm going to go ahead and place that right where I want it. About right here. Make sure I'm getting that straight. Excuse my head. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp this in the same place on both of my cards. And I'm just going to use a VersaFine Clear ink. And there we go. For this one, I know they're exactly the same. So very quickly, there we go. So there is one more thing I wanted to mention about our patterned paper before we completely move on. Now in this particular card, I did the corner in the patterned paper. But when you're starting with a 6x6 piece of paper, and you do this to give yourself the 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, you're always going to have this little strip that's excess on the 6x6. So today I don't have a third image ready to go. Hold on, let me put this down so I don't lose it. Okay. I always like to put it on a block. It just says, keeps it so that I don't lose a stamp on my messy desk. So you always have this piece when you start out with a 6x6 piece. So you can do this same concept by going ahead, and again, we can do the exact same thing, except we're making our image, oops, you get the idea, this way. And we could make ourselves another word die. We can put our image down here and kind of the same basic, easy layout, just going up and down instead of sideways. So never throw these strips away. You can make lots of great cards using those little pieces. All right, so here we have just like this. And again, we could finish our card right here. But let's do a couple more things just to take it to the next level. So one thing that will create a nice balance on your card is by placing your image on a circle or a shape that elevates it. So on this one, I've done a circle and I did it in vellum. So we're going to look at some different ideas of doing this. So we're going to use vellum today, just like this. But another option, we could use a colored circle like this. See how that just takes it to the next level? Or you can have a circle and make yourself like an outline. And I've chose the scalloped circles. And you can do it like this. So you see how that just takes that up to the next level. It's just those little things that you can do to make it better. So let's see. I'm not sure how I want to do it. I was going to do them just like these, but I really like these red circles on this plaid paper. So I think maybe I did want to show you that with vellum, you would go ahead and glue this piece down first onto your circle, then turn it over, add your foam right where your image is, and then that's what you would stick to your card. I also went ahead and foamed the back side of our sweet words, but I think I'm really liking these red, so I'm going to forget the vellum and go ahead and go this way because I like it. it's okay to change gears in the middle, right? Yes, these are great for making mass productions. Like if you could take a lot of A2, do all your plaids, do all your sweet words, and then just kind of mass produce. And, you know, once you've colored one image, if you have a colored printer, you can, you know, scan that in and print it on a colored printer and make lots of your same images with only coloring it once. So when you're mass producing, that's a tip. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and add our circles. And I don't like to put my image all the way over here or all the way over here. I like to overlap it there so it gives you that's what kind of ties your eye to bring it all in together. Set that right there. Go ahead. Move this little piece down. I think my circle is just slightly larger. I hope so. Yeah, it is. All right. Use this bigger. Now, one way you could go also is I could have glued this straight down and then popped this up instead. That's another way to go. But since we're already this far into doing it this way, we're just going to continue on. And again, make sure that overlaps. And this is one of the kind of card designs that's great to kind of have in your back pocket to pull out when you need to make a card quickly. Get your image straight. And like I said, these are a Christmas type card, but you can do the same basic layout with absolutely anything. From Halloween to a birthday card to a sympathy card, it just doesn't matter. And, you know, you can do it with one stamped image. It could be a little animal. It could be, you know, this is just a basic design that truly can be used for anything. It's great to just have this kind of idea. Now, I am going to tilt this just a little bit so that my secondary greeting kind of fits right in that curve of the word sweet. That's just another way of kind of tying them together so it looks like one image instead of two. When you make things kind of fit together like that, that's just one way of connecting it visually. See, if I put this just right up at the top, then it kind of looks like two images. But by putting that right down in there, just such a simple thing to do, right? That really makes a difference. All right, now the last thing I did to kind of take these cards to the next level is I added just a few little gems. And just to keep them all kind of similar, I'm going to add them in the same places as I did before. And of course, whenever you're doing gems, I like to keep it in odd numbers. So I just did 3 for this card. And let's see here. I don't want to use too big ones. So I tried to get some tiny ones. This is one of those sets where it gives you multiple sizes. Oops. And this one right here. All right, so there we go. This is just a very basic card design. It's a great one to have if you're just starting out and you've got all these supplies and you don't know where to start. This is a great place. whether you're going the corner, but add your patterned paper. You can also do it this way where you have a straight piece, but add your patterned paper. Make yourself a word die. I love it when they have an outline so that you can match it to your patterned paper. Your secondary greeting, and then by popping up your circle, your image, and marrying it to the middle, this is just a really well-balanced, pleasing to the eye design that's quick and simple. So there's a reason why I'm doing a simple card today, and I'll show you why. So I had this really elaborate plan for today, and I had done all this stamping and coloring. I had all these pictures, all these images all colored up, ready to go. And I was going to use a stencil and a embossing folder to create a chimney and a roof, or not a chimney, a roof line to add my chimney Santa, and then a fireplace to add all my little stockings from, to make 2 different cards. And I had this all planned. Well, then when I went to make the details for my video, I realized the stamp set has been discontinued. So it was like immediately with like, this was at like 9 o'clock last night when I realized that my whole plan was not going to work. So this is why we have gone back to the basics for today's card. But like I said, I do think it's always useful to kind of have some videos occasionally that are for those beginners, to help them kind of see some of the things that a lot of us that have been doing this a long time don't really think about much anymore, but we apply it in our cards every time. So, all right, I thank you so much for being here with me. I'm going to take a look here at our comments, just make sure I'm not missing anything, and I'll switch back. All right, thanks so much for being with me. I am going to go ahead and make those cards, and I'll go ahead and post them on the Whimsy Facebook page there, but I won't be doing a video here since that is a discontinued product. But all right, I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thanks again for tuning in with me, and I will see you next Thursday. Have a great one. Bye-bye.